Previously on Dungeons and Dragons.
Act 5! We have come back from commercial. Things are getting dramatic and exciting now. We had family drama to begin with. Now we're into sort of the espionage action portion of our television show. It appears that your presence is known. The two of you are downstairs. Sawyer, are you going to try and get Popsy to let you in and help you, or?
Somebody needs to keep an eye on me.
But there's definitely a moment of like, Popsy wanted to go out a hero maybe, and Sawyer's like, come on, old man, like let's win this one. So you go to Sawyer and be like, look, this is a facility, like if they're, whatever they're doing here, there's not going to be, there's going to be some guards, but it's mostly going to be, just people working here, scientists. So Sawyer, you're looking awesome, doing like some karate kung fu stuff, taking down mooks. You turn around and you see that Popsy has been captured by the enemy, and they are taking him away, and they're closing doors behind them. Ellie, we come to you and you sort of peek out and you see, remember we mentioned tractor trailers earlier? We see tractor trailers and we see large machines that currently are not loading sort of missile parts into them, but you could guess that this is what they were doing. We see a bunch of sort of Odessa soldiers down here.
Like piecing together that it looks like it might be something for missile parts using my spy training, I guess.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, it's obvious. There's like a thing carrying a nuclear, and the whole,
okay,
non-proliferation treaty. Like they're basically stealing missiles that the government was going to maybe the government didn't want anyone to know about, but they hadn't gotten to them yet.
I don't know what happened to you, but over there, they're definitely trying to steal a missile or something to that effect. There's definitely some Odessa involvement there. We either need to get out of here and report back, or we got to try and find Pops and Sawyer.
Davey doesn't care.
Davey doesn't care.
Davey's like, Sandy's so pretty.
Yeah. All right.
I just briefly asked Dave, do you know why these kids are here? Did you hear anything today at school or anything like that?
No, I mean, they told me that they were going to get ice cream.
Ice cream? There's no place for ice cream.
Where are we going?
North.
Welcome to Dungeons and Dragons.
Therapeutic benefit in role-playing games.
Welcome to Dungeons and Dragons.
Oh yeah, baby. Your presence requested in exchange for treasures.
Red Ripper.
Are we talking one treasure each?
Count that.
Knowing that I got to get back inside the house, but I don't want the kids to see me, I'm going to use a...
So let me ask you this. What is your goal? What do you want Davey to be able to do?
So...
Because one thing, and this is, we're having a discussion. One thing you could do is you could be like, hey kids, you shouldn't be out here. Why don't you go to our house? And then the kids could all take off, and then you guys would be able to save the kids, let kids be kids, and you guys could do your spy stuff. If you want. I'm just throwing the idea out there that makes for an interesting swerve, of sort of thing.
That's true.
Or counterpoint, you could just cyber kick in the wall, scare the crap out of the kids so they scatter.
That's kind of what I was thinking. I was going to use my cybernetic legs to jump onto the roof and kick through the roof.
Even better.
Yeah.
You could also jump down to where all the bad guys are down below and just kick some ass and take some names and let the kids party. Be like,
Ooh, and yeah, you can kind of use Davey as a pillar. Just like, it's not safe here. Quick, Davey will show you where it's safe, so you can kind of give him some street cred while you're at it.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking too. If mom, it's that same thing of like, look, kids, you shouldn't be here. Why don't you just go to our house? And they're, really? Like that's, and they're like, yeah, of course, it's fine. And Davey's like, my mom's cool. We can go hang out with kids. So again, in that sort of idea of what we talked about earlier, sort of that family dynamic, any number of these things could work. I'm just throwing ideas out.
Sure.
It's your character, you do what you want.
So I'm I think honestly, Ellie, the character Ellie, would probably lean towards that and try to use her maternal instincts to talk to the kids and try to convince them to go back with Davey.
Okay.
So yeah.
All right. So let me take over here. So
sure.
You're chatting with Davey, and you're sort of like in this thing, and Davey's like, Davey, are you torn? Like, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, so I would say I'm torn. I feel like this is my chance to kind of overcome my awkwardness and be around these cool kids partying.
But So I could see your character being like, I have to be the secret agent, but I kind of also just want to be a kid, and I had a horrible accident.
Right. That's what I was going to say. So he's kind of like.
So you're sitting here, and we see you, and you've got that sort of like 70s, like mopey, angsty kid with a bad bowl haircut thing going on, and Sandy comes over. Like Sandy saw the two of you and be like, "Hey, Davey. Hey, Mrs. Whatever your name is." I forget the names. What do we have? Oh, hey, Miss Nicholas. What are you guys doing here? Dave, did you find that we were going to be down here? Did you figure it out? I hope your mom's not here to bust us or anything. That would be a real bummer.
I'm not here to bust you guys. No, I'm not here to bust you guys. However, it's not really safe out in the middle of the woods here like this. Why don't I was thinking, why don't you guys head back to the house with Davey and just continue the party there? Continue the party there. Have some Jello. I've made a couple fresh Jello molds. They're in the fridge.
So,
Nicholas, are you pulling my leg, Miss Nicholas? Really?
I would much rather you guys be in a safe environment where I know that everybody is safe and they can do their thing rather than being out in the middle of. God knows what happens if somebody drinks way too much beer. They get alcohol poisoning. Then you got to have the medics come out. No, let's just go to my house, do your thing. Dave will take you guys there, let you in, and I think that's just a safer way to do things, guys.
So I'm gonna whisper to Sandy, just call my mom Ellie.
She's like, and she looks at you and she's like, really? It's like, so Sandy then turns back to you. Are you sure, Ellie? Like that's okay. I mean, that'd be really cool. Like we come out here because like no one can really find us. We know that they're doing construction stuff over there. Some of the times, but they don't bother us. We don't bother them. I mean, but that would be super groovy if we could like hang at your place instead.
I mean, like I said, I think that's the safer bet. You guys don't know who's down there. You don't know who's down there. I mean, I know it's construction guys or something like that, but you don't. It's safer between the walls of my house. If you guys are going to do this anyway, I'd rather you do it in a spot where at least I know you're safe.
That's far out, Ellie. That's super cool.
Groovy, baby.
Davey, can you make me a thought roll?
Yes. 12.
So, I would suggest to you, the player, that you may want to sort of whisper something to your mom to have her take your bike so you can ride with Sandy on her mini bike.
Yeah. So I'm gonna.
That's just you made that sort of roll and put it like you're smart enough to be like, I don't want to ride my bike. Like,
right. Yeah. So I'm gonna tell that to Ellie.
Okay.
And then
you just pull her aside real quick. Like, Mom, can you take my bike?
And then so.
No. He'll play it smooth. The wheels busted and he can't ride it anymore.
Notice. Like he's
exactly. It's too dark out. I can't see.
You don't have
so I'm gonna turn toward the camera and my eyebrows are just gonna go bing, bing, bing.
So I don't even really like I just kind of give you like a quick little like motherly like I don't even say anything. Like I acknowledge I pick up what you're putting down. So I kind of just walk over. I'm like, Davey, you know what? Why don't I take your bike? You go with one of them. You don't have a headlight on this thing. It's dark. I'm gonna put the bike back of the wagon, and I'll meet you guys at the house a little bit later on. Okay?
Sure. And Davey like feigns surprise, and Sandy's like, yeah, I mean, you can ride with me. I got my mini bike, and we can head out. Thanks again, Miss Ellie. That's super cool of you. I'm just gonna go tell everyone we're gonna head out. All right. So we're gonna pause this scene right here. Popsy, why don't you make me a thought roll? So it's out of 1, so you're gonna roll 5 dice, keep your best 2. Because we're nearing the end here. We want everyone to do well. We want everyone to succeed.
It's a 12.
12. So we saw you sort of get the tar beat out of you, and they captured you in this and this. And we see you as they're holding you, and you're feigning struggling, but at the same time, we see this little glint in your eye, and a little like, this was my plan all along. And we see them sort of drag you down and throw you on the ground. We see Dr. Snow, who is the big villain, the sort of the main face of Odessa down here. Be like, I found this guy. I think they're ace agents, and what should we do, Dr. Snow? Like, we don't should we just eliminate them? And I'll turn it over to you, Popsy, to do whatever you like to do. This was your plan all along.
Yes, to get to Dr. Snow. Oh, Dr. Snow, my old nemesis.
You stand up, brush yourself off.
Yep.
All right.
You have made a grave mistake in underestimating old Popsy here. And at that point, I want to adrenaline boot.
Adrenaline boost, but yes. Yeah, that's a type on my part. So, but yes, adrenaline boost. So you sort of do a thing, you start to glow. Okay.
Behold the power of mind and physics. And I want to grapple 2 guards and use them as counterweights. And with my boosted adrenaline here, just start spinning them around like a tornado and then use them to bludgeon Dr. Snow.
Yes. All right. So, what is your adventure? -1.
My adventure is -1.
Okay. So we got a -1. We got how many special effects points you're using? Do I need so
Double.
keep in mind we only have 3 actions left. I'm gonna say we got Sawyer. We'll have Sawyer take 1. We'll have Ellie take 1. We'll have Davey take 1. So just you can spend all your special effects on this if you want, right?
Yeah.
So that will give you 4 dice. You'll spend a spotlight token. That gives you another 2 dice, and so that's gonna put you at 7 dice. Keep your best 2.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, for hopefully with 7 dice, I can pull it off. I get an 11.
An 11. So we see you sort of like you stand up, brush yourself off, activate your
Rip open the chest hair.
We see the weird 70s special effects glow coming around you. We see you sort of using your old wrestling techniques from college. You grapple these 2 guys and start swinging them around, and we see you sort of throw them at Dr. Snow, who we see sort of get disabled for the moment, and we see sort of goons start scattering. Sawyer, here you go. Here's your final play. What do you want to do? So,
I think Sawyer's going to try to steal the all the glory, and
Okay.
he's going to be spending his special effect points to activate his cybernetic feet
yes.
to pretty much rocket propel kick through the wall
Nice.
into Dr. Snow to just try to incapacitate him, and then pretty much just like cuff him and like tie him up.
Okay. Awesome. So let's do that. So how many have you spent any special effects?
I have 1 more point left.
Okay, so you got 1 there. You get 2, 3. What's your adventure?
A 1.
1. So we got 1, 2, 3. So you're gonna roll 6 dice and keep your best 2.
Alrighty. That is an 11.
11, same thing. So you see you powering up your cybernetics. Slow motion, you kick the wall down. We see the styrofoam cinder blocks scatter about the room as you sort of jump in. And
I imagine there's some like elaborate like tumbling routine
absolutely,
being
yeah.
prepared into the kick.
Yep. Well, you probably, sort of charge at it and roller skate there as we see you look like you're roller skating on your feet. You do a powerful kick. Then you tumble when you get in and you engage Dr. Snow and you start sort of wrangling him up and getting ready for your thing. And there we go. Ellie, what do you wish to do?
I'm going over to the construction site, and I'm gonna kind of peer over to take a look and see what's going on again, and then seeing an opportunity, I guess, jump down, and basically just start taking names.
Awesome. So you haven't spent any special effects, have you?
I have not.
All right. So let's dump all those. So that's going to be 4. What's your adventure?
My adventure is a 2.
2, and we'll spend a spotlight token, so that's going to be 4. So you're going to roll 10 dice and keep your best 2.
Okay, so.
A mother's fury!
Okay, so I've only got 5 dice. So I've got.
What's your 2 high from those 5 dice?
My 2 highest are a 6 and a 4. And then. Okay, so I got a 6 and a 5.
6 and a 5. 11. 11 seems to be our spotlight number here. You go down, you jump down.
We always go to 11.
Activate your cybernetic legs. When you land on the ground, of course, this disables several soldiers, even though you haven't done anything, just classic 70s. You land and they're thrown back from the force of you landing. You then sort of beginning to engage them in various ways, easily sort of disabling multiples of them.
Judo chop!
The camera sort of comes up and we see a bunch of little mini bikes with hooligan kids taking off through the woods. and we come up, we zoom in on Davy and Sandy, and Sandy is saying, she's like, man, like, so is your uncle or brother, your brother, I guess, right? You said, is he really a secret agent? And she's trying to sort of like, she seems still infatuated with him, and this is your chance to charm her. So you're going to make a drama roll. You can add your spotlight token, of course. We're going to end it here to see if you can sort of win the heart of Sandy. And if you have, and do you have special effects points left, Davey?
Yeah, because I used one, so I have one left.
So you can get 3 dice there. You get 2 from the spotlight token. What is your drama usually?
-1.
-1. So that's going to give you. You're going to roll 6 dice and keep the best 2 as you're trying to sort of, basically you're trying to let Sandy know that like you're where it's at, not that loser uncle of yours. So it isn't your strong suit. You're So let's make that roll and see how it goes.
So that's an 11.
11 again. Everyone got 11s. All 4 of you. So you're sort of there, and you're like, oh, that guy's crazy. He doesn't know anything. I mean, truthfully, if anyone would be a secret agent in this family, it would be me. And do you look to the camera, wink, as we see the mini bikes sort of take off down the road. Sawyer and Popsy, you're sort of like pulling. Sawyer's got control of Dr. Snow, and you're bringing him out. And you're we sort of, Popsy gets on the CB and he's going to call this in, and we see Dr. Snow start saying, you think you've won this one, ace agents, but you have not. Odessa will reign supreme. We see cheap plastic skin fall off his face as we see that it is not the real Dr. Snow, but a robotic double. And we see, and Popsy slams down the CB and knows that once again, Odessa has gotten the better of everyone.
Sort of just holds him up. It's like I knew his head was full of nuts and bolts, and just tosses him aside. Just
crack it on the ground, and we see sparks and explosions. Our last shot, of course, is Davey at the house in the party, and we see him walking upstairs with Sandy to the bedroom and pulling out some vinyl records with punk rock. All right. So because I ran the game and you guys normally as players and one of you GMs, I will, as the GM, ask you guys some questions. And first of all, just thanks so much for having me on. I hope that you had fun.
Oh, yeah.
If you didn't have fun, I hope that it was a worthwhile experience.
No, this was awesome. Like
as I said early on, I always want players to have fun, and because you're approaching it both as players but for other reasons, I hope you gain something out of it, if nothing else. So, and if you didn't have fun, I won't be insulted. It's okay. But so the first question is, how did you relate to your character, and how do you feel maybe like the game or mechanics sort of helped you relate to your character? So whoever wants to start, kick it off.
So I guess I'll start. So I obviously played Ellie. I played the mother. It was so this was a little bit of a different experience for me. It's the first time I've actually played a character of a different sex. I've always played a male character, just the way I've always done it. But in terms of Ellie's personality, I feel like we're kind of similar. Like usually I'm kind of the logic. I'm usually logical and think things through like that. Where Ellie kind of is as well. And I also kind of tend to be like the glue to my family. Everybody in my family always kind of comes to me with stuff and whatnot. And I kind of felt like that was also Ellie in this role as well, where she was kind of like, obviously the mother to Davey, so she kind of had to help kind of wrangle him in some places, but also, her brother-in-law who kind of likes to do his own thing, and the crazy Popsy. I feel like Ellie was kind of that one rock almost, which I think a lot of times like I'm looked at in that role in my family. So definitely related to her in that respect.
So what I noticed was that you and your character neither seemed to have the need for, we'll call it proverbial, not literal, because the game has literal spotlight tokens, but you were happy to let the other characters sort of go off and explore their characters and just sort of be like, I'm here. Like I'm here to help the story move forward, but I don't need to have this moment. Obviously you had your, sort of time at the sort of the swingers party, and that was sort of intentional, trying to sort of capture weird 70s things. But I appreciate that because that definitely did feel like the glue. Like it felt like you were just sort of like, you guys go, go be naughty, and I'll be here. So,
Yeah.
All right. So next, who wants to go next about relating to your character?
I can go.
Okay.
So Popsy, I loved Popsy.
Good.
And the most fun that I have with role playing is always having the option to be ridiculous as like a part of the character itself. And like I feel like just like right at the beginning, like with the gas station opportunity, I was like, here we go. Like I'm gonna go right into it, gonna show the spotlight on the chest hair and like start a disco dance out in the open and have that type of fun. And I like personally like, I'm not necessarily out doing crazy things, but I like ridiculous things. Like I find them to like challenging all the strict aspects of life.
Yeah, all the norms, like sort of pushing against the norms a little.
Yes. Yeah. I personally like big into that, and I love that.
Oh, sure.
I also think that Popsy is like kind of a problem solver, and I feel that way as well. Just like
Oh, definitely. I thought Popsy was interesting because it felt like although he was this guy who wanted to sort of do this thing, he was also looking after his family and but also giving them room to sort of do their own things and make mistakes. Like he wasn't trying to push an agenda on anyone. He's more like, hey, how can I help you? And I think part of that help, and we'll talk to Sawyer next, was sort of letting Sawyer do his thing too, without it feeling like you were forcing him to do his thing, but sort of be like, I get it, So Sawyer, you're up next. How did you relate to your character?
So I feel that Sawyer the character and Tony the player have a number of eerily parallel common traits.
Okay.
So I honestly feel like I am the Sawyer of my family, just kind of like the black sheep as it were.
Okay.
But I mean, incredibly intelligent college dropout that's unfocused in life.
Yeah.
That's pretty close to home.
And I think I picked up that he definitely cared for his family, even Popsy. You know what I mean? Like,
where he gave Popsy. I kind of viewed Popsy and Conrad and my relationship kind of similar to my brother, where we're very we always butt heads, but we always do it in kind of like a jovial way. Davey, I kind of treated as Davey and Ellie as a pair. I kind of treated as my younger sister and my nephew, who it's about the same age range. So I just kind of treated that little relationship just like that.
Yeah. Cool.
So it's a lot of eerily similar parallels.
Excellent. And for Davey 2, Darren 2, whatever we want to call him, how did you relate to your character?
Well, I mean, it was kind of interesting, kind of jumping in and trying to come up with this character in the moment, I guess. I can certainly appreciate, the sort of awkwardness or interjection stuff. I mean, that's certainly in a lot of ways what I was like at 13. But what I was also trying to do was this is my first year having a middle school class, because my school is K through 12. So it was a kind of like, it's been a reintroduction to me of how like 13, 14-year-olds talk half the time. So I was trying, I was trying to hit that where they just say this random stuff, but certainly, yeah, I mean, I know like, certainly when I was that age, I had a wide variety of interests. And I'm not a music prodigy. I can't relate to that in that end. But yeah, I mean, definitely trying to, being awkward, but that kind of thing. I was certainly like that in middle school. So
cool. Well, that's a great segue to the next question. So obviously you're playing a character and you jumped in, but so how did you try something new, sort of, with your character and something that maybe you wouldn't have done normally? Do you want me to speak a little while you think for a minute, if you want?
Yeah, sure. Why don't you do that?
So one of the things that when I designed Retrostar, and so Retrostar is again designed to emulate 70s sci-fi TV shows, but it expands to just 70s shows in general, just sort of any sort of thing like this where you have, your game master is your showrunner and your director. And so they can say, like, I don't want you to try things. But what it is trying to do as sort of a game mechanic is to have there be a sense of the unknown, knowing that, like, I'm not going to kill your character, but you want that sense of, like, oh, you want to talk to the pretty girl. Just like in life, you don't know what's going to happen if you talk to the pretty girl. So, for a character like Davey, who is like a little outside his sort of realm here, that sort of, you could have had something like that, but that was a very intentional design choice I made to sort of have people be like, I want to try this thing. And just like in life, there are times you're like, I want to try a thing, and you don't know what's going to happen. Like, is the engine going to cut your arm off? Maybe, or are you going to be able to fix it? Are you going to make it worse? And sort of the idea that, like, the story's going to continue. It's just going to add to the drama and the narrative of the story, but sort of the idea that, like, I don't know what's going to happen, and that's okay. And because there's limited roles, I want every role to feel like, okay, I'm going to take the plunge here, and I'm going to try and do something. So, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that helps a lot. I mean, the sandbox nature of the system that as you had designed it, is something that was a little new for me, I guess having that ability to say, like you just said, I'm going to try this, I mean, I like to do character like Conrad. I'm very much into ridiculous stuff. I like doing that. I like often playing a kind of comedic character. And while I did try and have some kind of funny things here, I was also just like very, I don't know, like as a writer, I'm always interested in the story as it when I'm playing D&D, but I really was interested in just plugging myself in to just advance the story because, I liked the 70s TV show kind of aspect to it. So,
I appreciated it. And I felt, as the person running the game, that I felt a level of buy-in from you where you're like, okay, like, I've got to be immersed in this and sort of do it. And like, wasn't, I wanted the system to be like, yeah, try something. Like, you want to skateboard behind? Great. It's an adventure role. Awesome. Like, it's not like, well, you don't have a skill in that, or, sort of, it can make you do it. But I appreciated for your character, especially, that you were into it. And I felt you like, let me get into the mind of this character and be like, okay, here's what I'm going to do. And I felt that you were genuine. Like, do I go with mom or do I like hang out with the kids? I sort of want to do that. So cool. Popsy, what about you? How did you try something new?
So things that I thought were unlike me that I tried that were new were basically like the abrasiveness, where, like I wouldn't typically like put down any of my fellow players in any way, but I felt like compelled to express disappointment in Sawyer as part of the character. I felt like I needed to, with Davey, lying to his mother so that he can have this chance to flourish, which, like, again, it's like it was kind of weird, like, to lie about it, but just all of these, like, just blunt, like, go for it type things, and also just with the way I approached everything, I was like, let's just do it, like, like, heads down. And that's why I was like committed to that. I'm going to succeed and give up control of my character every single time, just because, like,
just to see what happens.
Yeah, let's just see what happens.
Awesome. All right, Ellie.
So, like I said a little bit ago, it was the first time I played a woman character.
Yep.
So that was certainly something new for me.
Which I can chime in was interesting because the series, as written, had a father as the character. And when you guys said you wanted to sort of do some gender swaps and change things around and add a new character, I was like, great, cool. So that was an intentional choice that you all made, which I thought was very interesting. I was like, cool, let's do that.
And and when Conrad, because that was actually Conrad's call to kind of do that family dynamic and stuff. But when he said that, like, hey, this is what we're going to do. We're going to have a mother. We're going to have a grandfather. We're going to have a brother-in-law and a son. I instantly said, like, I want to play the mother. I've never done that before. I've never played a female character before. So that's something that I want to try, and I jumped on that immediately. And it was a little different trying to come up with like some of those like maternal instincts, but then at the same time, they were also kind of, I don't want to say common sense, but like kind of too, in a way.
Yeah.
So, it was like, I'm trying to think, like, how would a mother handle this situation? But then at like the same time, I kept coming to a lot of the same conclusions that I might have come to myself. But just, I guess, trying to get into that mindset of like a protective mother was a little challenging but fun. But it was fun.
All right, Sawyer, how did you try something new?
So one thing that was new for me, at least as a role player, this is the first time in my extensive tabletop experience that everybody at the party was actually a relative.
Cool.
We, occasionally I've had parties where maybe 2 or 3 of the people at the table were related, but it was kind of fun to have a full family dynamic as kind of as the hook as to why everybody's working together.
Yeah,
It's obvious that it's such an obvious hook. It's just like, why isn't that a hook more frequently?
Well, so from my element, when you all asked to run the series, I was very excited because I run a G.I. Joe thing with this, like G.I. Joe's a live action show, which I talked about earlier.
Pork chop sandwiches. G.I. Joe.
And it's fun, and we laugh, and it's exciting and action packed and stuff. And then the other one is Galactic Run, which is sort of like space truckers, and there's a Muppet as one of the characters, and that tends to lean towards the silly and fun with action and stuff too. And I really enjoyed sort of the family dynamic, and I enjoyed sort of how all of you wanted to sort of embrace stuff that wasn't just action forward, that it was more like, no, we want to do these weird things here. And that's why, we did the swingers party, which was a little intense for 70s TV, but in hindsight, like it worked, and it did the thing I think we wanted it to do, which is sort of experience some different things that aren't just like, here's a monster with hit points, let's go kill it. So I loved that you guys wanted to do that. That made it.
Oh, yeah.
That's one of the things I like about the system, is that it can do all these different things. So, all right. So, what was the most challenging? Who wants to? Sawyer, you want to start with that? What's the most challenging thing from playing today? Did I stymie you?
A bit.
Go to someone else.
I guess. Yeah. I'm going to think about that. I'll pass the torch to somebody else.
All right. Does someone else want to chime in with what they felt was the most challenging thing? You can also say nothing, because the system is amazing and it changes.
Well, that's actually what I was. So, obviously, with it being a new system, it took me a little bit to get into the dice rolls and the mechanics. But by the end of our session today, I found it. I really, I just appreciated how smooth it was. So I guess it was not so much about the system itself. It was just that me being new to it today, I had to kind of get the mechanics down first. So.
It's weird, and everyone else had played earlier, but it does a thing as a system where most games don't do it, which is about like, look, you're going to give up control of your character. Like,
right.
You don't have absolute authority over what happens here. So
that's right. Yeah.
Ellie, what do you think?
So I think the most challenging thing for me, and this, I guess this might get a little heavy, and this also kind of gets a little out of the game in a way, but it also is a good, I guess, a good plug for what we do here for Therapeutic Gaming. I've been going through a little bit of a rough patch in my life, and I'll be honest, I didn't even want to play. I woke up this morning, I didn't want to get out of bed, I didn't want to do anything, but I said to myself, I'm like, no, like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to sit down. I'm going to play. And when I first sat in this chair, I was like way down here, and throughout the course of the game, for me, just kind of sitting down, playing obviously with my friends, but then also this different world that you crafted, I was able to just kind of take all the bullshit going on in my life, put it aside for now, and just enjoy the game. And at first that was hard. It was really hard to do because everything in my brain is swirling around the stuff going on. But once I was able to kind of put that aside, I had a blast, and I really enjoyed the story. And I came through on the other side right now, feeling a heck of a lot better than I did this morning.
Hey, good. Virtual fist bump right there. All right. No, that's awesome. I'm so glad it could do that. And yeah, I mean, I try and make games fun, and I think there was a nice moment at the end with Ellie and Davey there. That was nice. and that felt like a good thing. So, Popsy.
I think the most challenging is just, I guess, conceding control of the character, but it's also like interesting because it's like that does make you have to make a choice, and sometimes that choice can be it can just be very difficult. Where, like you said, for example, like, is the engine gonna like cut my arm off or something? So it's like I could succeed in, like, if my intention is to disable the engine, but maybe I disable it by sticking my arm in the gears.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
like I lost control of the character in doing so that happens. And when you get into the character and you like the character, then that's where it becomes a challenge. So it's I guess, like, so I don't think any aspect of the game was like too challenging to like wrap my head around. It was just a matter of the challenge of role playing.
Yeah.
And that's what I think was the most challenging part.
Yeah, and I'll kind of like piggyback off that for my answer as well, because I too think, now that I've had some time to kind of stew on it, is the conceding of the character. I think also too was kind of a challenging aspect. Not wanting to give away the control of what my character was going to do, but at the same point, as a granted, I've been role playing for a long time, so it's just kind of me, the player, being, it's like, no, I want to play my character, let me play it. But at the same point, it also kind of, I feel, shows a great welcoming to newer role players who are maybe trying this maybe this is their first role-playing game they've ever played. It gives them that comfort zone. Is just like, you are given the options, like, do you want to explain narratively what happens through role play, or do you want to concede the control of your character to maybe let the storyteller do it instead, to kind of, maybe you're new, you want to see exactly how it's done, or what's kosher at the table, stuff like that. So it kind of adds to the the comfort level and kind of the consent at the table too. So and I think it shows a lot.
My goal for any game I run is always for it to be a safe space where you can, and I know that sounds like heavy, but sort of this idea that, like, it's fine, let's have fun. I mean, if it's not fun, let's not do it. But to make it like, okay, cool, like, let's do this. I mean, it's okay. If someone had ever said, I'm not really comfortable with this when I gave up control, I'd say, okay, let's come back and do something different. It's not meant to be a punishment. It's more meant to sort of just, have the story take interesting twists and turns. So, and Davey, what about you? What did you find most challenging, other than coming in mid-session? So.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I agree with what others were saying. Giving up control of the character certainly, in a way, limits choices, but it also expands choices. So so that was I did have to get used to that, but in a weird way, it took a lot of pressure off me as a player. After a while, once I got used to it, like I said. So
yeah. Well, it creates a cascading effect. Most games have whereas this, it's more like, so you went and you explored the house and you failed. So I was like, okay, we'll move away from you. We'll come back to you. Yeah. And you may be saying, but I want to know what happened, and we'll get there. Do you know what I mean? But right now, and it's designed that way to sort of just be like a jump. We're going to do something else now, as opposed to like, no, tell me exactly what happened so I can try and counter it.
Right.
Like, instead, it's like, we'll pause for a minute, come back, everything's fine.
Right.
Add suspense to the TV show.
Yeah, and that's part of it too. That it's sort of we're all here together to hopefully tell a story. All right. So, what was your favorite aspect of the game? Which I feel very sort of shameful asking, but you can feel chime in there. So.
Yeah, I'll jump right in. So I like there are a lot of things I like about the game. And I think the number one thing I like is the structure of it. I think that the nature of the setting with acts and like number of roles and all of that, it's just great for role play management. What you were just saying, with like, oh, you failed and you fell and like that thing happened, we'll move away. Like that TV show, like change of scenes works so great for not just role playing, but then like relating it to like a therapy group where it's like, okay, like this thing happens, and we're going to switch gears here, and it's just so inherent to what we're doing to shift the spotlight around to where the spotlight needs to be, and then the players having like that agency to then call further spotlight to something is great. Where it's like, okay, like I want some extra attention on this. And while here, like at the beginning, I was like, I want extra attention on my chest mate.
Fluff up my chest hair.
Yeah. But I mean, like, there's another like side to that where it's like I want to show off like my confidence and
it was awesome.
And like, yeah, everything that entails. So I love that, and I can picture myself as like a game master where it's like sometimes it's really difficult. When like somebody's talking or something, and then some other people get lost in what's going on, where you have to like find a way to bring them back in. But it's just like, all right, this is the TV show. Each one of us is a character, so like everybody's gonna get their chance. And I loved how our playthrough, everybody seemed to like really have their opportunities.
Okay.
As well as we came together, but it showed both the strengths as individuals and as a group.
It felt to me that it felt like a TV show where not everyone was together all the time, but everyone was enjoying the process. Like as opposed to a role playing game where you never split the party. This is all about splitting the party. So, okay, Davey, what about you? What was your favorite aspect of?
Yeah, I mean, just to echo what Conrad said, I loved it. I loved the structure. I loved. The kind of streamlined system. It really did feel like a TV show for me. So in some ways, I was trying to allude to this earlier, where I'm playing, but I also feel like I'm watching it. Yeah. I'm a proud geek. I have a lot of geeky interests. I felt like this was a great tribute to a lot of 70s shows, and also poked fun at them at the same time, which I liked. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, so that's I really liked all that, and just to allude to something you had said earlier, luckily, when I started doing tabletop gaming, I actually started in college with Conrad. Most of the GMs I've played with, are more interested in advancing the story and letting people like have fun. But I have played with people who are like, well, you clearly didn't, notice that this happened on the tree, and now this is gone. And it's like to get so nitpicky about the rules, it kind of ruins the game experience. So in a lot of ways, I felt like, your creation here and your work really just allowed for this great immersive thing. And I just, I loved everything. So excellent work on it.
Oh, cool. Thank you. Ellie, what was your favorite aspect?
So I was also going to say the axe, and there's for a couple different reasons. So first, I guess the first one is like I've mentioned this before on the show, is that I'm an ADD kid, and I even if I'm like super excited to do something, I'm super excited to sit down and play a game. Maybe like 45 minutes into a session, an hour into a session, 2 hours, I'm kind of like, even if I'm having fun, I'm kind of like,
hey, what's going on?
So, and it's not, it's just how I am. But with the axe, it allowed me to kind of go, okay, we're on roll number 4. So we've got 8 rolls left, and it helped me stay engaged more, because I knew that like, not that like I wanted it to end, but like I knew what the time frame and everything was. Whereas if there isn't like an end, or I don't know what that time frame is, that's when I start doing the, hey, look at the kitty, on Tony's bed there. Look at the kitty on Tony's bed.
I love that cat, by the way.
So that was kind of one of the reasons why I liked it, but also too, just it kind of seemed to help the flow of the story and the narrative a little bit more. I'm a huge, like, the narrative and the story is really what I am driven to with a lot of these games. Like John B said, like when you get into a lot of these games that have a lot of rules, and then especially if you're playing with players that are like sticklers for those rules, for me, it kind of just, it ends up ruining that immersion, and it ends up ruining just kind of my overall fun. And I know like people like that. That's totally fine. That's
Absolutely
totally fine.
Yeah. We're all gamers. We've all been there. We've all done it. We've all enjoyed it.
Absolutely. And but this, I feel like just the acts and the limited number of roles, as well as the spotlight tokens and everything, it just kind of helps to keep the narrative flowing, and that I really appreciate it.
Cool. And Sawyer, finish us out.
Certainly, a few things I like about it: the ease and the accessibility on how easy it is to just kind of pick up the system. I think is great, especially for newer players to role playing, especially if this is once again kind of their first role playing game that they've played. It's not intimidating. It's not intimidating whatsoever to say it's like, oh, I want to try this tabletop role-playing thing. It's like, oh, I heard Dungeons and Dragons, that's a popular one, right? And then you go to a table and then it's just stacks and stacks of books. Nate can contest to this when Conrad and I have tried to get him to play our role-playing games. Where it's I literally have a one-page PDF, and I feel that's everything I need for this game right now.
You could play it on
I think
the
that
outline,
says a lot about game design.
Yeah.
Also, I too am kind of a huge fan of the act system with the 12 rolls per act, especially for people who have a lot of time to play these tabletop games, or in situations, especially like therapeutic situations where you have a specific time frame that you're looking to game. It's like, oh, we to game right now, or you and your friends can't all spend 4 to 6 hours to dedicate for role playing, what have you.
Yeah.
But it kind of gives you a nice, easy structure to kind of segment your game in very digestible bits.
Cool. All right. Well, I'll turn it back to you guys to head it out, but thank you so much for having me on and helping me fill a couple Saturdays with a fun time. I hope that you enjoyed it and that you got what you wanted out of it.
Absolutely. Well, we appreciate your time as well. This was a blast. I'm going to speak for everybody here and say it was a blast, because I'm pretty sure everybody had a blast. But yeah, guys, stick around. Conrad and I, we're going to be talking about Retrostar.
All right, Retrostar and family. So when we first started speaking with Barak, he had given us some examples from the book about ways to play, and it wasn't a difficult choice. He had mentioned the nuclear family, where ultimately some accident puts a family into the shoes of sci-fi agents working for some mysterious organization. And I thought, hold up, that's the one. So Nate and I go back 24 years. Paul, 25, and Tony went to Nate's high school. So we've known him, 16, 17 years. I knew that we could take on realistic family dynamics with one another and not worry too much about awkwardness.
Yeah, and I totally agree with that. So that is our main psychology theme for you guys today, family.
So what is family therapy? Family therapy, or counseling, looks at the mental health of the family unit. In practice, we'd like to be working on a difficult period, major transition, or perhaps behavioral struggles of an individual. One of the reasons I personally had a little interest in children's counseling is because their behaviors don't exist in a vacuum. If the reasons they act out stem from their home environment, then whatever progress you make is challenged the moment they leave. But that's not always the case. That's admittedly personal bias.
But that's what we have family therapy for, though.
Yes, and there are a number of approaches, but each ultimately share common goals. We want to define boundaries by roles in the family and what's appropriate. So an example of this is if the grandparents live in the house and instill principles that the parents don't necessarily agree with. You saw in our gameplay that little Davy had his mother, his uncle, and his grandfather all take actions to do what they thought what was best for him. Popsy uplifts him and encourages him with every action, but he simultaneously denounces his own son. The example being set may be that Popsy is proud, but also that Sawyer is a loser. So, one, proper communication is important for the family.
We have a scene where an older girl from Davy's school is hanging out with him, and Davy likes her, but Uncle Sawyer ultimately swoops in, appearing to try to steal her away. Now, the meaning here was Sawyer was suspicious that the girl might be a spy and wanted to protect his nephew. But Sawyer doesn't address this later, so Davy retains that Sawyer was just being a jerk.
Yep. 2, sometimes a family member can be made into a scapegoat. That's certainly the case with Popsy and Sawyer's relationship. I mean, Popsy basically had a favorite son who passed away in the accident, and all the negative feelings he had toward Sawyer for not following in his footsteps were amplified.
In reality, Sawyer is struggling with the loss of his brother too, and resents Popsy for taking his frustration out on him.
So essentially, what we want is to establish boundaries, create understanding, and open, healthy communication. Going back to what we said about reasons a family would come to group therapy, let's use our characters. So there's been a death in the family. It happened during a car accident that also maimed everybody in some way. So sure, we have cybernetic implants, but it's still a loss. Davy is this music prodigy whose hand was injured, and now he can't properly play anymore.
He didn't just lose his dad, but he lost a piece of himself too. Then they move to a new town and they meet new people. They're in the midst of a big transition.
You can see a wide range of coping mechanisms on display. Popsy has an eye for the ladies and is easily seduced, but he's quick to anger and he takes his frustrations out on his son.
Ellie is sad. She's trying to be friendly, becomes obsessed with making things like the fine details of her Jell-O mold, and when anything seems off with Davy, she's quick to panic.
Sawyer indulges in vices, but he does want what's best for his family. Though he and his brother were very different people, he still loved him, and he lashes back out at Popsy.
Davy's grown rebellious. He was this quiet, nerdy kid who jumps straight into danger.
Now let's look back at the end of the episode. Sawyer goes back to save Popsy, who has been nothing but mean to him. Even at the end here, Popsy is holding on to this anger, and he hesitates to accept help from his son. Retrostar gives us this safe environment to have various conflicts and feelings arise between the members of the group. One thing I think is particularly cool for therapy is the use of dials. We have set a number for what to expect from the episode. We could modulate when we get into the heavier content, like what it might mean for Davy to never play the violin again. Or we can pull it back to have fun together, like disco dancing in the middle of the street.
And with that, I think we're going to be disco dancing ourselves out of Retrostar and our look here at Retrostar. Again, we want to say thank you to Barack Blackburn for coming, sitting down with us and actually running this game. Was a blast. And again, thank you so much for doing that. Guys, you could follow us on Facebook at Deej Time, YouTube, Deej Time, Twitter, Deej Time. Anywhere you want, look for Deej Time, and we will probably be there, maybe, kind of, sort of. Anyway, we will see you next time for Pugmire.